All right, welcome in. I'm the Kodiak, and today I'm here to talk about why George Paton is the worst GM in the NFL. But before I get into it, just want to say leave a like if you enjoy or subscribe if you're not already. And maybe you can wait until the end and hopefully I'll have earned both of those. But at the same time, it's time to talk some ball. So there were a lot of guys I considered for this spot. I considered Shane, I considered George Paton, and I considered a few others. But these were the two that I really landed on and wanted to hone in on. And just based on the fact that our roster is as untalented as it is, I had to go with George Paton of the Denver Broncos. So when George Paton came over, he came over from the Vikings, who have always had wicked talented skill position guys, but at the same time, they've never really been able to get over the hump of trying to compete with Green Bay. And they've always played second fiddle to Green Bay, even during Paton's tenure there. So I was excited about him. The Vikings are generally pretty good at drafting and developing, as long as it's not like, I don't know, one of their million first-round corner busts. But at the same time, let's get right into it. So I thought George Paton was a good hire. I was excited about him, and in his first draft, he raised a lot of eyebrows in Broncos Country because he took Patrick Surtain over Justin Fields when we didn't have a viable quarterback long-term answer on the roster. And I just don't really know how anybody can look back and be upset with that just based on the fact that Patrick Surtain is the best corner in the league. Back at the time, I was livid, but now Patrick Surtain, all-pro, I don't know, that's just kind of me ranting about our fan base that people are still hung up on that. But at the same time, 2021 was a good draft. He traded up in the second round for Javonte Williams, which didn't really make a lot of sense. We weren't really in a position to trade up for a running back, especially with how strong that class actually was. But third round picks, Quinn Miners, Baron Browning, and Jonathan Cooper in the seventh round. So that's good. And then he completely torpedoed the roster from there on out. March 8th, 2022, it's announced that Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos. And this trade was universally renowned at the time. I have absolutely no regrets about them swinging and missing on Russ. The extension before he even played a snap for us is kind of tough, especially because now they are kind of caught with their pants down and they have to work some magic with the salary cap. But at the same time, I don't know, it was worth the gamble. But we have completely failed to put together a talented roster. You look at all of George Paton's draft picks since then, Nick Bonito, fine edge rusher, but he still has some developing to do. Greg Dulcich can't see the field. Yuma Wazirike on the bench. Or, no, not on the bench. He's probably going to be in jail because of his criminal investigation with gambling and stuff like that. Damari Mathis, horrible. Literally the worst graded PFF corner in the league this year. And when we look at that offseason's free agent signings, Randy Gregory, cool. I'm astounded that they did not find a other solution besides Melvin Gordon at running back. And also, why in the world did they hire Aaron Rodgers to lure a 39-year-old quarterback? Yes, I know Aaron Rodgers was still highly priced and highly renowned at the time of that hire, but at the same time, just to lure a 39-year-old quarterback for the next 2 or 3 years of high-level play, and honestly, it's debated on if he can even give you high-level play anymore. He looked like a shell of himself his final year in Green Bay, and I'm not really excited to see what he can do next season. But at the same time, Nathaniel Hackett was a bad hire, but it seemed like they just kind of fell back on Russ as another plan. So, yeah, I don't know, man. They also signed Randy Gregory that same offseason. Complete disaster. Terrible, terrible signing. But when we get into this past year, this is really when it honed in on me that George Paton is just not a good GM. We have 3 above-average players on our entire roster. Simmons, Surtain, and Miners. And yeah, Paton drafted 2 of those, but at the same time, it's just grim. It's grim. We're completely out-talented in every game we play. Every position needs work besides cornerback 1. Even right guard. Miners is going to get his extension, but even safety has some long-term questions because you kept bringing back Kareem Jackson on one-year deals, and he got released because he kept getting fined too much. And even Justin Simmons, there's a good chance he doesn't want to stick around. He's a great player. He's a great character guy. He's great in the community. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a couple times. He's a great human being. But at the same time, who knows when he's going to pull the plug and just be like, I'm tired of losing. And he might not want to do a rebuild with Sean Payton. And then we go to this past draft. I have never, ever, ever been so disgusted at what the Broncos did. So yeah, hiring Sean Payton was good. I will give him that. Sean Payton did an unbelievable year because I think it speaks to how good of a coach he is that we have a completely untalented roster, but he was able to scrape 8 wins out of this team and playing meaningful football in December. So in the draft, we traded for Marvin Mims. Great piece. He was an all-pro in the return game, but you'd expect a second-round pick to contribute to the offense more than he actually did. And then one of the biggest, decisions that I've had a problem with of the entire Broncos draft tenure since I've been a fan and since I've been following the draft was trading up for a white cornerback instead of Devon Achane. Like, I don't know what our front office was thinking, trading up for Riley Moss and not seeing him develop, because he could not even see the field above Fabian Moreau, and he couldn't even see the field above Isang Bassi, both of whom were just bad. Moreau was good throughout the year, but his play dropped off a cliff towards the end, and Isang Bassi is no longer on the team. Jaquan McMillan was a good find, but you cannot tell me that this guy has built a good roster. Mike Mulgenchi, our highly priced right tackle, was graded as one of the worst pass-blocking tackles in the league. And I think Russ not holding on to the ball for very long is going to help out with that, but at the same time, I don't know. I just do not have faith in George Paton to lead the Denver Broncos going forward. It's been terrible, it's been awful, and I don't know, I'm kind of sick of it. I think that Payton just completely took a mess, and he made it an even bigger mess. And that's excluding the Russell Wilson trade. I don't hate the idea of it. I hate the idea of the extension, and it's true that there was some weight as far as ownership trying to push on an extension, which, I mean, whatever. But at the same time, George Paton just has not built a talented roster. There's too many guys who just are Jags who are old, aging, expensive, and mids. So that does it for me, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.